All right, the word psionic, you've been hearing it a lot recently if you're involved very much in the UFO community, right? Well, it's become a big part of the story, right? It's become a big part of the current story and the current push for disclosure. Now, it's been a part of UFO lore for quite a minute, but it's probably been kind of suppressed in a lot of ways, right? People are kind of a little iffy to talk about it. Some people are very open to talk about it, but it's now come front and center thanks to Jake Barber and his special on Newsnation. He did a full-length, almost 3-hour interview with Ross Coulthart, which I have covered already in a video. I'll be making several videos about it, so check them out on the channel. I'll put links in the description for all of these videos that I've made about it. I'm going to show you 3 clips, and it's the very last clip that I'm going to show from Michael Herrera. Yes, you're going to want to stick around for that. All right, that is a bombshell clip you're going to want to hear. But I'm going to let Jake explain in a couple of clips here first, right? 2 different clips. So I got 3 clips in total, right? 2 with Jake, and then the very last one with Michael Herrera. Again, you're going to want to stick around for that and see that clip. But first, let's let Jake describe exactly what a psionic asset is.
A psionic person is someone with the predisposition for extral temporal, you could say, abilities and sensitivities. Someone who has a fantastic intuition.
What did you discover the psionics were being used for in the program?
In the program, there was certainly a desire to explore the idea that perhaps UAP could be summoned, could be communicated with, could be controlled, and could be persuaded to land, all by deploying people with psionic abilities to interface and communicate with the UAP.
And did you see that happen?
Yes, I did.
So there were people who were purportedly psionically gifted who were brought into the program?
Yes, there were.
Where did they come from?
They come from all over. They're not, and all over, I mean, from outside the United States as well as in.
And how are they detected? How are they picked?
You know, I don't really know. You'd have to ask somebody else.
I'm told that there are particular indigenous communities around the world, Native Americans, people in different third world countries, who apparently have enhanced psychic abilities that are recognized.
Sure. I think most people could grasp the idea that perhaps people that are from other cultures, you know, our culture leaves a lot to be desired when we look at the contaminants that exist in our food, contaminants that exist in our drugs, and contaminants in our culture. And some of these contaminants, it turns out, aren't great for your spirituality or your consciousness or your psionic abilities. And so those who live a particular lifestyle or live in a culture where they have a more natural or direct way of life with nature and their surroundings seem to, within those groups of people, there's a little bit higher demographic than there typically is for those with a psionic ability. So these people are sought out and are used to contribute to the research.
All right, so a few things there, right? One, he doesn't know how they're picked, right? How are they determining who has this ability? He said, you got to ask somebody else. Well, dude, you're the guy giving this. Like, how do you not know that? How have you not asked that? That would be the first question you would ask, right? Like, how are we picking these people? How do we know, right? So that seems interesting, to say the least. And he's also saying that they're picked from third world countries, Native Americans, right? Even within the United States. And I've got another clip to give us a little more insight on that. But right, he's saying that there are contaminants within the United States, contaminants in our food, our drugs, our culture. Well, I've lived in 3 different countries. I would argue there's contaminants everywhere, if that's the definition, right? Food, culture, drugs, right? That's everywhere, quite literally. So that's interesting to me to say that and just kind of, you know, point out America only, no offense. So, you know, look, you know, to me, America is the greatest country in the world, right? Diversity, opportunity, no matter how much we complain about it, trust me, I have lived other places. A lot of people have. I would argue America is phenomenal, right? Granted, do we have problems? Yes, but every country has problems. Anyone trying to tell you that it's just America, I mean, I don't know what they're talking about. So I don't know. I would push back a little bit there, but maybe he would push back on me to what I said and whatever, and yada yada. So, all right. So these people are being put in this program, and doesn't know how they're picked. And again, this program is used to summon UFOs, right, mentally, and then bring them down, essentially, right? So look, let's take a look at this clip of Jake Barber talking about psionic people being picked from Indonesia. Here we go.
Firstly, we're recruiting psionics from Indonesia, a foreign country.
Yeah.
Are those people given? Are they voluntarily going? Are they?
Yeah, it's my understanding they're very well taken care of. You have to think, and this is where the human trafficking idea was a very unfortunate turn in Michael's story, especially after my involvement with it, because now we got this guy that is at least somewhat indirectly informed that there's a human trafficking operation. And when we talk about human trafficking, we think of sex trade and all kinds of other things. And this is not it at all. It's my understanding that the programs that are conducted to recruit psionic assets in third world countries, these people come willingly. And if you were to go down there and try and liberate them with any type of, liberation army, you would be liberating people that don't want to be liberated. They get very well taken care of. They get fed. There's actually a sense of pride, especially within the Native American communities that have been involved in this program that do cooperate outside of CONUS as well. There's a sense of pride with this skill and ability. And so, again, this is another example of, it's almost like we want there to be darkness in this area. And there is not darkness. And I'll tell you, by nature of my experience, as I shared, non-human intelligence itself does not operate that way. And so these people whose skills are nurtured are basking in a glow of light, I would assume, most of the time when they're doing their work.
For them, it's a very positive experience,
Very positive
engaging
experience.
spiritually with this phenomenon.
Yeah, that's what you say. They're basking in some divinely beautiful frequency in order to do the work properly.
All right, so he's saying they're going voluntarily from Indonesia and they're very well taken care of. And later in this interview, he talks about Michael Herrera, who I've covered on this channel before. You see, Michael Herrera had an incident in Indonesia where he saw a craft and then, what he thought they were drug trafficking and or gun trafficking, something, right, was happening. Then he was later told, oh, no, there's humans, right, that they were picking up, right? But the way Michael Herrera describes the program, right, that he did on GAIA, which I've showed that clip many times, he doesn't describe it the same way. And so there's some definitely conflicting stories here.
Mike, what kind of numbers are we talking about with these P3 beings? Are we talking 100 a month, thousands a year, 1,000 a year, or how many people are they collecting for this?
From what I understand, because these people, again, are human, right? So they're susceptible to, obviously, the adverse effects that come from operating this machinery, if you will, as well as the drugs that they flood them with. So they're flooding with serotonin and a bunch of other uppers because it also keeps them at a very high consciousness level. It's almost like somebody going through hospice who's dying of cancer. Mm-hmm. Well, they flood them with these similar drugs and they're feeling good. They don't feel like they're dying. So they partake in these programs because they feel good all the time until the inevitable happens, which is unfortunate. So,
and what is that?
Well, obviously dying from the drug overdoses that they're doing with these uppers.
So there's a shelf life on these human beings.
Yes, there is. So that's why they have to continually keep refreshing the stock, if you will.
And now, how long is that?
It spans from, I've heard instances where as soon as somebody gets hooked up to this machine, that they either die or some best case goes to a coma. Not everybody has this, but on the earlier stages of when they were refining this project of hooking people up to this advanced technology.
Is that like after a month, a year? Or?
I don't know the specifics of that. Mm-hmm. I think it just depends on what the person's threshold is directly.
So they're a disposable item.
Pretty much. That's why they call them assets or P3 assets
right,
or pink
assets.
assets.
All right, so and if you want to see the rest of that GAIA, it's put in 2 parts on their website. I'll put links in the description, episode 5 and episode 6, and it's the Psionic Asset Program, episode 6, that really dives into this. But again, links in the description. Go check it out for yourself. Because Jake is describing it like, yeah, they're coming voluntarily. They love to come. They love to be a part of it. They're well treated, all of this. But Michael Herrera doesn't say it that way. He says they're hooked up to machines and they die. These people eventually die. Right? How is that good? Again, very conflicting stories here, and they need to work that out because Jake does kind of stick up for Michael a little bit, but he also says like he doesn't know really much about that story. They need to get together on that because that story is not the same. The way Michael describes the same program that Jake is talking about is completely different, unless there's 2 programs now, right? So I don't know. That part is not sticking with me, right? And we need to see some proof. Can we get one Indonesian person who's been picked and used in this way? And how many, right? And why are they going to the middle of the jungle to do this after a natural disaster, right? Because the Michael Herrera story took place after a tsunami and earthquake happened in Indonesia in 2009, and then... right, in a natural disaster, they're going in and taking these people. Hey, we can help you, now that you don't have a home, right? That sounds kind of like hitting people at their most vulnerable time. Now, again, Jake is saying they go voluntarily and it's all good for them and they love it and everything. They're well taken care of. And then Michael's saying, they're literally hooked up to machines and eventually drained of their energies and, pass away, right? So which is it? Which is it? I'm so confused by this, to be honest with you. So anyway, you decide for yourself. It's up to you about all of this, to be honest with you. So I don't know where I stand. I'm still trying to process this whole 3-hour interview. I'll put a link in the description to check out the full Jake Barber interview if you want. It is out now. All right, y'all. We'll see you on the next one. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.
Inside my own world of make-believe, kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.